What if the system wasn't broken, but simply misunderstood? What if your deepest frustration wasn't caused by your lack of effort, but by trusting a method that only taught you half the equation? Let's start there, not with hype, not with shame, but with the quiet truth you already feel, somewhere inside your chest. You did everything they said. You believed, you visualized, you made the vision board, recited the affirmations, watched the masterclasses. You tried so hard to think only positive thoughts, even when life felt chaotic inside. And maybe for a little while, it even gave you hope. But eventually, that hope began to feel hollow, because despite your effort, nothing truly changed. Not where it mattered. You still felt stuck. Your relationships didn't deepen. Your finances didn't shift. And the worst part, you began to wonder if you were the problem. Maybe you didn't believe enough. Maybe your vibration wasn't high enough. Maybe you were secretly sabotaging yourself. But what if the issue was never your desire? What if the issue was the system running in the background of your being? Because here's the truth. Few are brave enough to say, you cannot override a dysregulated nervous system with a positive thought. Your biology will always be louder than your affirmations. Your body will always whisper the truth. Your mouth tries to disguise. You were told to manifest, but no one taught you how the transmitter inside you works. No one explained that you are not just a mind with wishes. You are a signal system, and the universe does not respond to what you say. It responds to what you are. This is where most manifestation teachings fall apart. Not because the desire is wrong, not because energy doesn't shape reality, but because without inner coherence, the signal becomes scrambled. This is physics, not philosophy. The thoughts you think are only the signal, but your trauma, your fear, your unresolved grief, shame, tension, and panic, that's the noise in the system. And when the noise is louder than the signal, you don't manifest clarity, you manifest confusion, or nothing at all. That is not a failure, that is a mechanical outcome. Imagine trying to send a radio broadcast from a tower filled with static. No matter how beautiful the music is, no one can hear it. Now imagine your intentions as that music, and your nervous system as that tower. Can you see now why so many of your signals never reach their destination? They didn't fail because you didn't try hard enough. They failed because the signal was never clear. And if no one explained this to you, it's because most spiritual teachers are still trying to bypass biology. But you can't bypass what you haven't healed. You are not failing to manifest. You are being asked to repair the transmitter. This is the beginning of truth. Not the truth that promises magic overnight, but the truth that finally makes sense of your experience. Because you're not lazy, you're not broken, you're not low vibration, you're simply awakening to the inner mechanics of reality. The law of attraction was never the scam. The scam was telling you that a damaged signal system could perform like a clean one without ever teaching you how to quiet the noise. And that's what we'll begin to do now, not by trying harder, but by listening deeper. Not by thinking more positively, but by learning how to engineer your inner clarity so the signal can finally be heard. They told you to match the frequency of your desires, but no one told you your nervous system was already playing a song, one you didn't even know was on repeat. You see, your body remembers what your mind forgets. The pain you ignored, the fear you numbed, the tension you silenced in the name of positivity. It never disappeared. It just went underground, into the soft hardware of your being. And now, every time you try to send out a signal to attract love, success, peace, it gets distorted, not by negativity, but by noise. Let's make this clear. Your consciousness is a transmission field. Your intention is a frequency. But trauma, shame, guilt, they are residual vibrations, echoing through your subconscious, altering the purity of your signal. This is not esoteric. This is engineering. No radio tower can broadcast clearly while surrounded by static. No clean message can pass through a wire that's frayed. You cannot install new software in a system that's overheating. Yet this is what so many seekers try to do. Stack positive thinking on top of buried panic. Repeat affirmations over repressed grief. Chant abundance while their inner child is still hiding under the bed. This isn't spiritual sabotage. This is unconscious interference. The noise is not a flaw, it's a signal from the body, and all it's saying is, please stop overriding me. I'm not healed yet. You don't need louder affirmations, you need deeper listening, because manifestation is not about commanding the universe, it's about restoring coherence in the self. This is what they don't tell you. The law of attraction can work, but only when your system is quiet enough to send a clear message. And clarity is not created through willpower. Clarity is created through nervous system regulation, presence, and self-trust. This is why some people manifest with ease, not because they believe harder, but because their inner signal is less distorted. Their nervous system is not hijacked by unprocessed pain. Their breath is anchored. Their presence is aligned. Their internal broadcast is stable. This is the hidden layer behind results. It's not belief, it's bioenergetic architecture, and that can't be faked. So if you've ever wondered why nothing came, why the thing you wanted never showed up, maybe it's not because you didn't deserve it. Maybe it's because the signal never made it past your own skin. And if that's true, then the work is no longer to want harder, it's to quiet the system. So the signal becomes audible, not just to the universe, but to yourself. You were never meant to force reality. You were meant to tune your system until reality had no choice but to respond. This is not mysticism, this is mechanics. Let's strip the spiritual marketing away and look at it clearly. You are a broadcasting system. Every moment, your consciousness sends out signals through thought, breath, emotion, attention, tone, and posture. This is not metaphor. It's electrical, neurological, real. Intention is not a wish. Intention is a signal wave, and the medium that carries it is your nervous system. The law of attraction is not wrong. It is simply incomplete. It talks about frequency, but never about interference. It celebrates the signal, but never examines the transmitter. It worships the outcome, but never studies the architecture of inner clarity. So let's do that now. Imagine this. You want to manifest love. Your mind says, I am worthy, but your body still carries the memory of abandonment. Your chest tightens at the thought of being seen. Your breath becomes shallow when someone gets close. That tightening, that contraction, that is signal distortion. Your words say one thing. Your system broadcasts something else entirely. Now imagine your reality as a mirror, not of what you say, but of what you transmit. This is signal engineering. Input is not enough. The purity of the signal is what determines the outcome. If your system is full of static trauma, shame, buried rage, self-doubt, then every message you send out becomes scrambled. And when the message is scrambled, the results are unclear, delayed, or missing entirely. So when people say, manifestation doesn't work, what they really mean is, I was taught to wish, but no one ever taught me how to tune. They tried to control the output without upgrading the wiring. But consciousness doesn't work like a vending machine. You don't insert thoughts and receive a reward. You become a coherent field, and life reflects that field. Let's put it in design terms. Thought is the code, emotion is the power source, nervous system is the circuit, presence is the stabilizer, reality is the response architecture. If any of those components are misaligned, the system malfunctions, not as punishment, not as failure, but as a natural result of misfiring mechanics. This is the truth spiritual teachings often avoid, not because they are malicious, but because many of them are trying to bypass the body. But manifestation begins in the flesh, in the spine, in the gut, in the breath, because until your biology feels safe, your signal cannot stabilize. This is why it's not enough to visualize. You must regulate, you must clear static, you must retune the inner transmitter until it is coherent, quiet, clean. Only then does the signal arrive. Only then do the pieces click into place, not as magic, but as inevitable design. There are only two modes of being, not good and bad, not spiritual and unspiritual. Just two states of system operation, unconscious and awakened. And most people, even those speaking of love, light, and manifestation, are still operating unconsciously, not by choice, but by conditioning. Let's make this visible. The unconscious human, they think a lot. They try to be positive, to believe, to attract, but underneath, they are ruled by their emotional weather. They live in reaction. They respond to life automatically, based on past wiring. If someone rejects them, their chest tightens. If a bill arrives, the nervous system contracts. If nothing changes, they panic and try to think even harder. This human doesn't choose emotions, they become them, and then unknowingly, they broadcast from that distorted signal. Their mind says, "I am abundant," but their system whispers, "I am scared, I don't trust life, I am not enough." It's not their fault. They are simply running a program, one installed by childhood, culture, repetition, survival. This is unconscious manifestation. It is erratic, unstable, slow, and it burns people out. Now contrast this. The awakened human. They don't control reality. They align with it. They don't react blindly. They observe first. When fear arises, they pause, not to suppress it, but to feel it cleanly, directly, fully. They know that emotional energy is part of the signal, so they don't fake positivity. They return to presence. They breathe, anchor, and choose. They train their nervous system not to be silent, but to be stable. They don't beg the universe. They become a clear field. And from that clarity, life begins to organize around them. They do not transmit fear masked in positive words. They transmit presence, quiet, consistent, grounded. And that is what draws reality like gravity. Not force, not effort, but internal coherence. The unconscious human fights their reality. The awakened human tunes their system. One lives from emotion. The other lives with emotion, without drowning in it. One is ruled by pattern. The other is shaped by awareness. And once you see the difference, you cannot unsee it. This is not about morality. This is about mechanics. And this is where true manifestation begins. Not with belief, but with recognition. The moment you realize, I've been broadcasting confusion from a system that was never stabilized, that's the beginning of awakening. Not dramatic, not mystical, just different. A new way of operating. And that changes everything. The moment you realize the system is noisy, the instinct is to fix it. But inner work does not begin with fixing. It begins with rebuilding. Not forcefully, but structurally, like rewiring a delicate circuit that had been sparking for years. So let's ask the only question that matters now. If my nervous system is the transmitter, how do I begin to clear the signal? The answer is not in books. It's not in better mantras or new techniques. It begins in stillness. Not the stillness of silence, but the stillness of finally listening to what's actually there. Because most people are trying to manifest over the noise instead of moving through it. But signal engineering begins with removal. Before you can strengthen a signal, you must reduce interference. And in the human system, interference comes from old emotional memory, survival responses, defensive body postures, unacknowledged grief, fear held in the muscles, tension in the breath, speed in the thoughts. So we rebuild through awareness, through nervous system regulation, not just intention. This means 1. Breath, not to calm you, but to reconnect you with your body's actual state. Longer exhales, equal sign. Increased vagal tone, equal sign. Quieter, inner signal. 2. Presence, not just mindfulness, but full, radical honesty about what you're feeling, without trying to spiritually bypass it. 3. Emotional integration. Feelings are not blocks to manifestation. They are data. They are part of the transmission. When you fully feel shame, anger, grief, they release signal distortion. Not by being fixed, but by being heard. 4. Slowing down. Most spiritual seekers are sprinting toward peace. But peace cannot be chased. It arises in stillness. A regulated system naturally broadcasts clearer signals. This is the retraining of the inner system. You are not trying to attract, you are learning to stabilize. You are not trying to force outcomes. You are refining the architecture through which life flows. Just like a clean wire transmits light more clearly, a calm nervous system broadcasts intention more coherently. So when the external doesn't respond, instead of pushing harder, You ask, what part of my system is not aligned? And the moment you ask from awareness, you're already tuning. This is not effort. This is engineering, spiritual engineering of the soul's broadcast system. And the beauty is, you don't need to become positive. You only need to become clear, because clarity does not chase results. Clarity attracts them without force. The law of attraction was never the scam. What failed you was the belief that you could build a bridge with only half the blueprint. You were given slogans, not schematics, hope, but no architecture, and yet you believed, not because you were naive, but because something inside you knows you are a creator, that your life is not random, that your energy shapes outcomes. That part is true. What wasn't true was the idea that you could bypass your own system and trick the universe into responding to something you weren't actually broadcasting. This is not a punishment, it's precision. You are not broken, you are sensitive equipment, miscalibrated by pain you didn't know you were carrying. You were broadcasting through wires that had never been inspected, trying to transmit from a body that had never been taught to feel safe. And that's not a flaw, that's your starting point, because once you see it clearly, that manifestation is not magic, but signal clarity. You stop begging life to change and start learning how to tune your instrument. You stop trying to manipulate outcomes and start practicing inner alignment. You stop performing positivity and start becoming quietly coherent. And when that happens, the world no longer feels like it's ignoring you. It begins to feel like it's listening. Because now you are finally speaking in a signal it can hear, not through force, not through fantasy, but through stability. So if you've been chasing the dream, the vision, the breakthrough, pause, feel your own signal, return to your own breath. Because the real attraction was never about drawing things to you. It was always about returning to yourself. And from there, everything else begins. Not because you asked, but because you became ready to receive.